The following is a sponsored program paid for by Yaba TV.
Welcome to our beautiful show, the Yaba TV show. My name is Sia, your host. Our show is very interesting today. Believe it or not, the topic is, what did you do on your first date? We're going to find out from our guests and, of course, find out from me what I did on my first date. Or was I shy? Did it happen? Well, we'll get to find out when we watch the show today. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell everyone you know about our beautiful show, the Yaba TV show. We'll be back in a moment. You are back with our lovely show, the Yaba TV show. I am your host, Sia. Today we have a topic that everybody can relate to. What did you do on your first date? That's our topic. So I have with me right now Lee Lester with Ubuntu Institute of Learning, who is going to tell us her experience with our first date, and then we're going to find out what she does in the community. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about me. Well, I was born right up the street at Cedars-Sinai, but I lived most of my life in North Carolina with my mother, and that's where I got a love for the work I do now in nonprofit space, and I've been doing that for about 20 years. But I'm a full-time RVer, which is a little odd for most folks to digest. We call ourselves digital nomads because we live and travel, but I love it, and I love community work.
Interesting. You love community work. I do see that. As a matter of fact, the Black Chamber of Commerce had their meeting at your office, which was awesome.
Oh, yeah. I was so happy to be able to host it.
Yes, definitely. Yes. So we all have a different experience when it comes to our first date. But I'm really curious to know about your first date.
Well, believe it or not, I was a late bloomer. So my first date was probably my third year in college. I went to undergrad at UC Berkeley, and I was out with some friends and met this dreamy guy. And we talked on the phone for a few times, and because I had no idea what to do or expect or anything, I invited him out with a group of friends. And they also wanted to join because they wanted to check him out and make sure he was okay. And so the first date was just a dinner at a cool casual restaurant in Berkeley. And we had the best time. We just talked and joked, and we ended up holding hands under the table. So it was a lot of fun.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Did he bring you flowers or anything?
No. You know, I didn't realize I was missing out on that. No flowers, but we did date for like a year and a half. So it was a good first date, first boyfriend experience.
My experience was different because growing up in Africa, most cultures, your parents, it's like, almost like a taboo. They don't talk about marriage, sex, relationships. Most cultures don't even talk about it.
Wow.
So I had to I learned the hard way.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Well, I grew up in a very religious family, so they didn't talk about it either. But once I got to college, people were more open and honest about it. So.
Let's talk about your company. You have a unique name, Ubuntu Institute of Learning. How did you come up with the name?
Well, I was fortunate enough to live in South Africa for about 7 months. I was volunteering with
7
the school.
months?
Yes. And that word kept coming up. It kept coming up as people talked about it. And so I would ask, like, what is Ubuntu? And it means I am because we are. And it's that sense of community. And here in the U.S., we say it takes a village. So it's a very similar idea. And I just fell in love with it. And I knew whenever I did the work that I did, I was going to incorporate it. And I wanted everybody to feel like, okay, we can do this together. And you see that in nonprofits sometimes because everybody's vying for the same funding. It becomes a crabs in a barrel mentality. And so I wanted to change that. I said, I'm going to be the change. And so everything I do, I try to collaborate with other nonprofits, with other community organizations, because there's enough work for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. So what do you do specifically at Ubuntu?
So I am the founder and executive director.
Okay.
And we work in 3 basic areas, all under a social justice umbrella. In affordable housing, we work in entrepreneurship, and then also diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging.
Interesting.
Oh, I love
How
it.
long have you been in existence, your company?
Well, I started Ubuntu in 2018, but I've been doing this work since '97. Yeah. When I started Ubuntu, I did it because I wanted to work specifically with nonprofits to help them be more sustainable, because the work they do is so valuable. But if they're closing their doors, you know, communities are devastated. And I figured I needed to walk the walk. So for me to be able to tell them this is how you need to do it, but I've never run a nonprofit, it seemed like that was hypocritical. So I said, you know what, let me do it so I can show them it can be done.
Talking about times are hard, with this pandemic, many companies have closed down for good, and especially small African-American owned businesses. And you're still sustaining.
Yeah.
You must have a secret.
Well, you know, I run Ubuntu like I won't say like a for-profit, but I really look at, okay, where we're going to be in 5 years. I'm very conservative with spending money, and like I said, I collaborate a lot, so my overhead is very minimal. I work out of a co-working space, so that keeps the overhead very low. And I do a lot of my work online, so that also keeps overhead very low. So I'm very mindful of that, even pre-pandemic, because I'm thinking long-term sustainability, not today. And that has been very helpful for me.
What does it mean to run a small business as an African-American woman in the U.S.?
Wow, that's a big question. So that means you're going to get a lot of no's. You have to be very resilient. I find you have to rely on your sisters to help you. You know, I find that other Black women help keep me motivated. When I'm feeling down, I go to my LinkedIn page and I see Black Girl Magic, and that just keeps me going. But it also means building relationships. It's really a lot of, I think, the success that we have is because of we're constantly building relationships, and those relationships are win-win. It's not just, oh, here, give me help. It's no, hey, how can I help you, and you can help me, and it's more bartering type of thing where we all help each other, and I think that's what's going to lead to sustainability in other small businesses.
Talking about helping others, look at the camera and tell our viewing audience where they can see you, where they can catch up with you and dialogue with you.
All right, so you can always reach me at work. My work number is 562-471-3404, or our website at www.ubuntulearn.org, and that's UBUNTULEARN.org.
What one word would you like to keep in the minds of our viewers today that they will remember about your company, Ubuntu?
One word?
Yes.
If I had to choose one word, I would say community.
Community.
Yeah.
You're community-oriented, I can tell.
Absolutely.
Keep the fire burning. We need more sisters like you.
Thank you.
And I do want to thank you for taking the time to come to my show and sharing with me your first date and, of course, what you do in the community. It's been a pleasure to have you on my show.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We need to take a quick break to acknowledge our sponsors, but don't go yet, because we have another young man that is going to be a guest, Greg Taylor. He has so much to share with you about his first date and so much more that he does in the community. Be back in a moment. Welcome back to our beautiful show, the Yaba TV show. My name is Sia, your host. Our topic today is, what did you do on your first date? Interesting question. Maybe at the end of the show, some of you watching the show, I'd like to hear from you what you did on your first date. With me now is Greg Taylor, who is going to tell us all about his first date, because our topic today is really, really funny. It's sticky, it's entertaining, it's all of the above. So, Greg, it's a pleasure to have you on our show.
It's a pleasure being here, and I'm telling you that question can go in many directions. So, if you would like me to indulge you with the history of my dating experience, my first date actually was in Los Angeles, and I was taking the streetcar to pick up my first date, who I had met, and challenged her to meet me at Clifton's cafeteria downtown LA off of 7 and Broadway. And when I got off the streetcar, which many of us don't know were the electric buses at the time, it was raining. And I stepped into...
Raining?
Yeah, it was raining, cats and dogs, if you want to say. And I was dressed to impress. And when I got off the streetcar...
Did you get wet?
I stepped into a puddle up to my kneecaps. So I was really embarrassed at that time because I had a box of candy and flowers. And I thought, man, I was it. Well, everything got drenched, and I figured, this is an experience.
What did she say?
She was laughing at me, actually. And I said, well, why don't we go to the movies first so I can dry off? So I took her to the movies at the State Theater that's down there. And we had a really good time. And then we went to Clifton's, which I was still a little drenched. But it was around Christmas time. I'll never forget the air, the smell of perfume, because at that time, downtown Los Angeles was open to businesses that were more progressive in selling, catering to the people. Perfumes were on the first floor of all your major industrial buildings like Sears and May Company. So I was pretty impressed with how I handled myself that way.
But were you shy?
I was always shy. You couldn't figure that out, but it wasn't my...
You don't look it. You don't look like somebody that would be shy on your
I was a football
date.
player. I was a football player. I was a jock, but I was shy because my first commitment was to my mom, my family, then my football team, and here I am dating the cheerleader, which was kind of like against the rules, but I had a good time. I wasn't shy at all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about what you do in the community.
What I do in the community, I'm a veteran, as you can see, wear my hat proudly, letting people know that there are these casual guys like ourselves out there. I was homeless at one time in my life, and
Homeless?
I was homeless when I got out of the military, lost everything. It was a rough time in my life, and I had my children to think about, and we were sleeping on the streets. And I didn't know I had rights and privileges, because nobody tells you this stuff when you're coming out of the military. However, I share the stories because over a pair of dirty laundry and a cup of coffee, a gentleman who I was really impressed with gave me some time to think about life. And he said, man, you've done so much for this country. Why don't you come down to the Veteran Administration and see if we can hook you up, help you. And I did, because you know, you don't think about leaning on shoulders sometimes. People are always so inclusive to themselves. And I had a lot of pride, and I had a lot of kids. And my wife had died, and it was pretty
How many
bad.
kids do you have?
I have 7 sons and 2 daughters. And this was over a time that I spent in the military, 14 and a half years before I got seriously injured. So when I came back, it took me a while to get myself together. And then I went through the programs that they had at the VA, not knowing that at one time I was also a counselor helping veterans that were coming back from Vietnam and Korea. Now I'm being helped. So you see, it was a payback. I was getting paid back for the work I was doing before I went in the military.
Okay.
And by that, I found out that a closed mouth don't get fed. I opened
Not
my
at
mouth.
all.
I lost my pride so much to the point where I was listening to people saying, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. And one of the first things I would tell people, don't ever close your mouth in time of need, because that's when it's serious. When you can't talk, that's the time you should talk, because there are people
How
out
else
there.
will people know where you stand if
That's
you don't
right.
talk?
And I don't care what position you are in life, because you always go up, there'll be somebody watching you. When you're coming down, they help you stand up. So it was a pretty trying experience. I learned a lot. I have 3 degrees. I'm an alcohol abuse counselor. I'm a marriage family counselor. I'm an outreach counselor. I'm a peer support specialist.
And then I'm looking at your name tag, says Greg Taylor, First Vice Commander,
Right.
Post 578,
Right.
Los Angeles.
And I wear that proudly because I'm a member of the American Legion, and the history of American Legion is giving back, helping. So it doesn't come with any payroll. We are all volunteers, and believe me, being a volunteer is something that you don't really understand until you find out there's a lot of effort and less pay, but the rewards afterwards is you can't pay for it. So I do
value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do these things willingly because a gentleman who helped me over dirty laundry and some coffee at 6 o'clock in the morning got me on this path I'm on. And I feel that every individual, not just veterans, should at least have a helping hand.
Right.
But I also feel that your veterans who've given
I
so
like to
much.
call Helping Hands Destiny Helper.
That's right.
Yeah, everyone needs a Destiny Helper.
Everyone does.
Because of time constraint, tell our
understand.
audience where they can find you.
You can find me on the streets of L.A. So they call
I
me.
like that.
Sometimes they call me the Maverick. I'm a certified peer support specialist, and I do that for the Veteran Administration. We are specially trained to communicate with people who are having problems and try to help them make good choices. We're not here.
But
to-
is there a number they can reach you?
Yes, you can always reach me on my personal number, 714-400-7819, and you can always catch me. You can call me. I may not answer right away, as some people know, but I will call you back.
Yes. Thank you so, so much for your time on our show. You do so much for the community, and we appreciate you for sharing this with our audience.
I appreciate you having me here. I really do. And anytime anyone wants to talk with me, please call.
You're welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And we need to take another quick break to acknowledge the people that make this show possible. Because without them, it's not going to be a pretty show. It's not going to be the contemporary show that you know or that you enjoy now. So let's acknowledge them. It's worthy to acknowledge them. We'll be back in a moment. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch our television broadcast today. We are on every Sunday at 4 p.m. right here on KCAR TV, Channel 9. If you haven't heard before, this is it. Yaba TV is coming your way at 4 p.m. on Channel 9 every Sunday. Well, we have a YouTube channel. Please go to our YouTube channel and watch some of the past shows. But promise me one thing, like, share, and subscribe. That's the only way I know you're enjoying the shows that we bring to you to the comfort of your living room, a contemporary African TV show to you. Well, tell your friends again that we are on at 4 p.m. on Channel 9. We will see you next week at the same time on the Yaba TV show, your contemporary bridge to the motherland, Africa.
The proceeding was a sponsored program paid for by Yaba TV.